to see some behind the scenes stuff for the Ocarina of Time with Lyrics song, then what you're about to see is textbook that. But it needs a little bit of setting up and explaining before you see it, otherwise you're going to be going, what is this? I don't know what this is. As you know, if you've seen the Ocarina of Time with Lyrics song, there's a scene in which me and Brentalfloss have this confrontation. And this took a lot of setting up because I live in England and he lives in New York, and those are not the same place, and they're not places that it's easy to pop between. In the end, we filmed the confrontation scene in September of 2014, but I do mean in the end. What most people watching the video won't realise is that that was in fact the second version of the confrontation that we filmed. We had previously filmed a different version of the confrontation, what we thought was going to be the final version, in the previous September of 2013. Yes, this song was longer than a year in the making, and you are about to see that original version of the confrontation scene. Here's why it exists. We had already been planning to do a sequel to our Mario Land with Lyrics song for a little while. Brent was coming to England to do a convention, and coincidentally, and it was a complete coincidence, it turned out that this convention was very near to where I was going to happen to be that weekend anyway. So we realised what this meant. This would give us the opportunity to really take the argument that we were going to have in the Ocarina of Time song and really blow it out of proportion, because we were going to be able to actually confront one another. For that reason, the confrontation scene is actually the first bit that we wrote of the whole song. We asked the convention if they had an empty room that we could use. They didn't, but they did have a gaming room which wasn't being used for a slot of a couple of hours, so we were allowed to film during those couple of hours. Now, given that the eventual confrontation scene took the best part of 2 days, I'm not really quite sure how we managed to fit it all in, but we did. We filmed a complete version of the confrontation sequence. Personally, I think it looks a bit lackluster. Either we were both a bit tired that day, or maybe it was just that we didn't know each other very well, but there's something about our performances in this early version that makes me think I'm really glad we got to do it again and really kind of spruce it up a bit. But anyway, so what you're about to see is the original version of the confrontation scene, which really for the most part of a year we thought was going to be the eventual one we had to use, and what you're going to hear is an early version with a temporary MIDI piano track instead of the a cappella, which wasn't recorded yet. The story back then was different as well, and you can hear me and Brent explaining that at greater length in the big Ocarina conversation video, which you can find here. Click that. But essentially you would still have had Brent coming to England to confront me. We weren't really going to explain why the confrontation took place in this random gaming room at a convention. It was just what we had, so we had to go with it. But the main difference was that rather than being a parable about the general concept of overblown arguments on the internet, this one was in fact going to be about Brent being unreasonable about Ocarina of Time. And at the end of the confrontation scene, he would have realised by seeing out of the window a load of people holding hands in shared joy while playing Ocarina of Time on their 3DSs, that in fact there was a lot of love going for this game, and that love is a positive thing, and therefore the love overrides any cynicism or even any logical arguments that he may have against the game. This being an incomplete and generally silly idea, we never got round to filming it, but you see a trace of it at the end of the following video. So now you know what you're about to see. I will endeavour to make it a playlist so that the video ought to just start playing automatically now, but if it doesn't, there'll be a link in the description, and in fact I'll throw one up here so that you can click it, but it's going to start now if the playlist is on. So off you go and watch the original version of the confrontation scene from Ocarina of Time with Lyrics over at Brentalfloss's channel. Bye bye!